Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. All right. So we'll get started. First of all, thanks Jason for last week's conversation. That was very educational. I look forward to our follow-up this week. And then Marin.
I think we have both Grzegorz and Camille here who can speak for my items. I just added him on the agenda. So, Grzegorz, do you want to share?
Yeah, sure. So we managed to make some good progress with cloud native job logs. We started rollout to production. GitLab or GitLab project rollout has been successful. And although we identified a couple of things that we would like to improve, everything seems to be on track to finish, like to proceed with the rollout in this milestone.
Cool. Thanks for sharing, Grzegorz. Um, Camille, do you want to talk about pages?
Yeah, so like since last Monday, we are running doc.gitlab.com. On gitlab.com in the zip architecture, it's around 12% of the requests that is being served with that. Basically, like the plans for that week is doing percentage rollout of what we have. We don't really have all the pages that we can run in that. We rather have something about up to the 50%. But this will allow us to basically performance optimize the current implementation while we work on the data persistency, which is connected with JSON comments and like integrating our work in the charts. It's also integrating like provisioning dedicated bucket for the pages deployments and things like that. So you may expect from us some issues about the dedicated pages buckets and like Octopus spreading the configuration to Omnibus and to the cloud native to make it like possible to run that on GitLab.com in a way that we plan to run that in the future. Right now, like we use zip artifacts that are associated with the CI job. It gives us a test, but it's not the end goal. The end goal is like dedicated bucket. That I hope that we conclude the development work in this release on the right side.
So I have a couple of questions. So does that mean that any new pages packages created now, they go straight into zip, or that's not the case?
Sorry, can you ask again the question?
So if I go and update pages on a project of mine, do those now get turned into zip, or are they we're still using NFS, and at some point we'll flip that? I'm trying to separate what happens after a certain point where things start happening with zip from migrating the rest of the stuff that say doesn't get an upgrade and therefore doesn't get repackaged.
Right now, it's only a single project that is using zip, which is docs. Okay. In like, I'm not sure exactly the timeline when it's gonna happen, like this seamless migration that you're asking. But if everything goes like according to our plans, it should be like early next milestone that we should start persisting all the new pages as a zip in a dedicated bucket. We kind of like concluding the data persistency work on the right side right now. And once we have that, this is basically when we start persisting these pages deployments that we are not doing now. Once we start doing that and we confirm that this is working, the next step is going to be background migration of the all existing data into this architecture. So what we're going to do, we basically go into NFS and pack everything and put that in that bucket. That's basically the goal.
Okay. Yeah, I had a question about what the plan was for that later, but we can talk about that later. All right. And then I had a question about the blocker that Marin brought up last week. Jason, do you want to vocalize your reply?
Sure. I just wanted to point out that we should be following 2334 as the immediate unblocker. That will be the work that we're doing to have it be a generator pattern. That is actively being worked by DJ. We're finalizing discovery on it now so that technical work can begin very shortly.
Okay.
Actually, let me add, apologies. The demo last week, I actually did an example hand-created environment for this. So the distribution demo from America's Thursday of last week actually has, this is how it does actually function to split the load. We bumped into a few things and learnings while we were doing that, so we can actually see how the right path gets used, the additional flag needed for Nginx for regex. So there's some nice pieces that the infra team and delivery may want to see.
Marion, how does that jive with your blog?
Yeah, it aligns with what we spoke about at the end of last week. So we're making progress on that.
Cool. All right. I don't see Steve or Jarv here.
I can just quickly say we have an epic tracking this, so I don't know whether there is any additional actions necessary here. Okay. So we will remove NFS from infra once the blockers are removed, and the epic I linked earlier. Sorry, in 1C, it's epic 98.
All right, and that tracks the
unmounting NFS shares across .com infra.
Okay, but that doesn't, does that track the removal of the actual NFS servers? I suspect not, because
not of the servers, but removing the mounts.
Right.
Yes.
But those are being, if I understand this correctly, there is a small fleet of Sidekick servers that are now mounting that, which will be able to remove once the pages migration is complete and we have
Correct.
no NFS dependencies. Okay. Okay, so the next point, it was a question on the pages migration. I think I understand at least the general idea. I'll keep an eye on that epic to see when we add more details. I know that the master epic has a, what I would call a guesstimate that December 2020, so in a couple of months is when we would be done with all this work. But I guess that's going to be dependent on when we finish the SIP implementation and all that, and then we do the background migrations. So I'll keep an eye on that. At least I know that we have some ideas and that's making progress.
But I mean, just to highlight here, us migrating things on GitLab.com, right? Like the background migration, and the continuation of work of this group can go in parallel once that happens, as long as we have, right? Okay.
Yes,
just
so the original alignment was that once the product supports SIP, then we consider that here, and then that's being tracked separately, but we move forward because that wouldn't affect new multi-large instances that might be stood up that don't have this legacy to contend with. So yeah, GitLab.com was always going to be treated as a special case. I think it will always be a special case, but cool. Jason, you have the last point.
Right. I do still have on my radar, and still is a priority to get the documentation in place for the technologies that we use and how they relate to each other. I apologize for the delay in this. I had other priorities come up.
Yeah, that's fine. I also have, based on the notes that I took from our last chat, I need to turn that into a write-up that we can use for this working group. Because we did talk about the fact that we need to take the reference implementations and map them to what they would look like in the cloud native world versus what they look like right now. So cool. That is all for this week. Unless there are any other topics anybody wants to bring up, we'll wrap it up then. All right. Have a great day.